Blair?
Hey, Cuonzo, do you talk about, what's at stake, the types of things that we talk about, projections, tournament brackets, and seeding? Do you talk to your team about that?
Yeah, we talk about it just in ways to make them better, understand the task at hand, not to add any added pressures. And then, oftentimes what I try to do, I pull certain guys to the side that I think have a pulse to be able to relay certain things to his teammates or their teammates. So, yes, do we talk about all of yes? Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, Cuonzo, there have been a number of games before and after that you've told us, that for your offense to work, you need X to be more aggressive and attack more. And every time I think you've said, hey, this isn't anything new. We've talked about this before. So how do you do you have to find different ways to say it, or how do you get a message to sink in that seems to have been kind of a recurring problem?
Well, I think when you're in heavy rotation as a basketball player, you understand your assignment, what you need to do to be successful. Those are things that we continue to work toward and just finding answers and solutions to try to help X. Because it's not as if we're talking about a guy that's, trying to get minutes coming off the bench, struggling. Like, for example, Thomas Watson, trying to get him minutes to get him going and all that. But you're talking about a guy that's in rotation and a guy that you count on certain production and at the point guard position. Again, it's just, I think now it's just a matter of doing what your assignment is and what's asked of you, pushing the ball, putting pressure on the defense, all those things. And everything else takes care of itself. And it's just same thing if Drew Smith is not the guy that he normally is, where he's passive, he's not defending at the level. That's hard because you count on that certain production. So you count on that production and pushing the ball. And whether X scores 5 points, 25 points, it's how he's operating, and everybody else is involved with what's going on within the offense. But if that part becomes stagnant, now you have to find other answers.
Dave Matter?
Cuonzo, do you feel like you guys are safely in the NCAA tournament, or how are you approaching that part of it, just whether you're in or not?
Well, I feel like we're safely in, but I mean, that's not necessarily my talks to the guys. It's getting better, and it's not necessarily you broke down here and there, you're not playing hard. It's just like, let's be consistent in what we're doing. And I think that's the biggest thing. But no, I think we're safely in, but that's not even the topic for me. It's about let's get better. Let's win a game at Florida. And these are the things we need to do to win the game.
Mitch?
So speaking of Florida, they've held their last three opponents to pretty low shooting percentage in these wins. I guess what have they done well on defense, and how do you kind of attack that?
Well, they've done a good job, one, in taking care of the ball when they need to and not giving up live ball turnovers. That's the first thing, because you always have to look at that. And even if a team turn the ball over, you're not giving up live ball turnovers. So give them a chance when they score the ball to set their defense. And oftentimes when they score the ball, they're in a three-quarter court press or sometimes a full court press, depending on situations. And they finished the game down the stretch in a kind of a matchup zone against Kentucky. They played, and they don't play it all the time. They play it in certain teams. It depends on how successful they are, how long they stay in it. And then, just getting rebounds, forcing teams to do things I guess you don't want to do, and make it a half-court game. And I think the best thing, same thing we talk to our guys about, you want teams to be able to score in the half court. Live ball turnovers can cost you. Bad shots can cost you. So you want to have your defense set. Now you can defend at a high level.
Internet?
Cuonzo, with all the potential distractions of senior day and bracketology and SEC tournament and all that stuff, what's kind of the message to your group about, hey, this time of year, this week, this is where I need your focus and where your head to be?
Well, a couple of things. We always talk about let's continue to get better, because there's a lot of basketball, but also the other thing is just embrace the preparation of what's on the floor. I think those are the key things, because it's not as if you're adding a lot of new things this time of year. And it's not as if you're adding more guys to your roster. So you know who you are. You know what makes you successful. So it's understanding what makes me successful as an individual player and what makes us successful as a team. And I think those are the biggest things. But I just think embracing the preparation and understanding the scouting report, the game plan, the walkthrough, the film study, take that to the game. And allow your only issues, if anything, you call them issues, missed shots. Missed shots, a breakdown here, but it can't be a consistent breakdown. Live ball turnovers, multiple live ball turnovers. a poor block out here and there, because those things add up and then it becomes a ball game.
Vahe?
Hey, Cuonzo, how you doing?
Right.
Good. Hey, I just we've talked a little bit about this before, but we're closing in on the anniversary of everything shutting down for COVID, and I just wonder if you recall what you were thinking as that started happening, and maybe in what ways you think our perspective, your perspective on the meaning of sports might have changed since then.
Well,
I'll follow up, RJ.
I just I remember sitting in a hotel and really was talking to Mike Kelly, and all of a sudden an hour later they canceled the games. Just talking to Buzz Williams, because we had just passed by, we were talking, then Mike Kelly, we were talking, then just they canceled them. And it was just so many unknowns because, to be honest, I really didn't know the impact of the virus, just like probably everybody else, just kind of hearing about this virus. So you're shutting it down. And then the next thing is, getting back to campus, what's next for our guys, making sure the academic piece, doing the right things, because you didn't know that it would be, okay, you're shutting it down, off campus, all those things. And it went, and all of a sudden you start looking up, there were people losing lives. And then you go further, loss of jobs, and there's so many things that are going on in our society, and then the impact that it had, just you being with your family, staying at home, you not leaving the household, not really importance of wearing a mask, which they talked about, no, you need to wear a mask. And this, it was just, every day was just moving. Now to get to this point, to actually be headed back to the SEC tournament, I think it's amazing to be able to get to this point, to wear a mask and to be accountable to do that, to be able to play games with some fans in the arena. I thought that was a great thing to do, and I didn't think it would be easy at first, but we pulled it off. Yeah, man, it just to be able to play the game and have some fun in playing. You want to have fun, and it's still competitive. And I think the downside, even though you're dealing with COVID, you've had coaches losing jobs, and in these stressful times, and some on the surface might seem better than others, how they handle you winning games. You think everything's okay, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you're dealing with. And but for us to be at this point, I think is great.
And I seem to remember you feeling like part of the reason the social justice movement got a little more amplified last year was obviously the heinous murder of George Floyd, but also sort of COVID stopping things and having a kind of a compound effect. Do you still feel that way? Do you feel like your role has changed somewhat in everything since then?
Well, I've always had it on my heart to try to do the right things. It's just how, but I think oftentimes, when you work under the university's umbrella, you have to respect the space that you're in. And then the other part is you get to a point where it's like, at what point do you stand up and understand your impact and your role in society? And it's not to create hate, but it's to create a voice and say, we all need to do this. Just like everybody on this Zoom call right now, you guys are part of, even if you don't look like me, you're still a part of, you're part of society, you're part of the walk. You have a voice, you have a pen, you have a paper, you can write, you can do the same thing. It doesn't make you no different than me just because your skin color is somewhat different, if that's the case. We're all the same people. We all have the same struggles. If your next door neighbor is struggling because of how they look, and you're able to cut your grass and wash your car and have a good time and go to the parks, then who are you? I mean, what's the difference? We're in this fight together. I was blessed to be raised by a woman that she was just struggling to make ends meet. She didn't have time to say, what color is that person? We trying to find a way to eat and survive and live. Didn't have time to do other stuff. So I was never taught that. I think that's where we have to get in society. We have to get to that point, man. Because that's all of our right. It's just that's not just Black people's issue. That's everybody's issue. And if you don't think it's your issue, I feel sorry for you and I feel sad for you.
Thanks, Cuonzo.
Eric?
Hey, Cuonzo, shifting it back to basketball a little bit. You mentioned just this time of year is about getting better, and you mentioned you're not also it's you can't change much this time of year. Do you find it easier because you have more proof of like, okay, this is the things we need to fix to get things done, or is it harder because you've been set in whatever ways you have?
Well, the one thing about it, when you have a team and a program, and I think this team is as good as any, when we click on all cylinders, we can identify, not that I'm going to give you everything right now, we can identify as a team what the issue is. I can, boom, and probably the previous 2 years, not the first year with Michael Porter, because you still were good enough without Michael Porter. You had enough pieces. The previous 2 years, you probably just didn't have enough to keep getting over the hump with key guys out and injured. Well, you have enough as a whole right now with this group so you can identify what it is. So it's not as if we sit in the game, oh, this is bad. Yeah. Because at first we weren't making shots. Well, you're making shots now. Now it's just a matter of putting it all together. The absence of Jeremiah slowed us up somewhere because there's a guy that you're counting on. And that's a tough blow. You can make whatever excuse you want to make about it. It's a key part to what you're trying to do. But now he's back in the fold, ready to go. So I think our guys are just basketball. Now let's get back to basketball and having fun. But it's not a case of, man, we can't do this or we can't do that. We can do all the things to be successful. Now it's just a matter of consistently doing them.
Cuonzo, during his time at Mizzou, Kobe Brown has kind of made the transition successfully from being more of a 3 or perimeter player to more of a 4 and a post player. How do you think he successfully made that transition over the past couple of years? And why do you think it's paying off now in the form of kind of a bona fide inside scorer?
I think just to get down and get comfortable. So I think in high school, he played a lot on the perimeter facing up, even though most cases he's probably the biggest guy on the floor, but he was a skill player. You could play on the perimeter. His dad did a great job putting him in position to be able to do that. But, after a while, you get to a point like in talking with Kobe, okay, it's good to play on the perimeter, but also you're almost 6'8", 240 plus pounds. We got to utilize that because similar to the conversation that I had with Jonte, when Jonte was 6'11", so skilled, but his game was on the perimeter. If he faced up in the post, he was kind of off the blocks and shoot a jump shot. And then a year later, though we didn't get a chance to see it, he dominated in the post because he was so physical and strong around the rim, and he still had the other parts. And the same thing with Kobe, like you have to take advantage. You can't allow teams to switch smaller guards on you, and that's not an advantage for us. I mean, that can't happen. So it had to sink into him first to understand what we were saying as a staff until he comprehended that part. And then you got to obviously get used to playing the post because not many teach post stuff nowadays. So he had to get used to the fact that playing around the post, being aggressive, being physical. But the most important thing is to understand that there's a smaller guy, he's 6'1", 180 pounds, and he's defending me in the post. That has to sink in.
If I could ask a quick follow-up, RJ. At what point did Kobe kind of you mentioned Kobe started to comprehend that. At what point did that happen?
Well, when I say comprehend, not that he lacks intelligence, but to really absorb what I'm saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, look at that small guy defending you, man. That should be where I was from. That was considered an insult if this smaller guy's guarding me around the rim. So I think just practicing it, because we spent a lot of time, even late last year, just practicing. But he had to get used to it. He had to be in position. I can't think. I do remember the game. That I can't remember the game, but he was posting up. Even when Tillman was on the floor, he's posting up because he had an advantage. Like, Coach, I got a guy, and that was big. I think that was the biggest thing. Him recognizing and him saying it. I don't remember the game, but him saying it from the sideline. Coach, I can post this guy up.
Got time for 1 or 2 more. Coach got ahead of practice. Dave.
Without a game on Saturday, you could have gone one of 2 ways of either, throttling it back or getting up and down more. What did you decide to do to approach that weekend?
We did a little bit more of getting up and down because, again, when you plan in season, it's especially Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, you have a day off in there, and then it's prep toward another team. And like most people, you're not doing a lot of running. And with this time off, we felt like we had to get back to the pace we were playing at. Get back to the better place, pushing the ball, sprinting up the floor. And I think that has a lot to do with X. And obviously, I think Bugs does a good job with it. But X getting up and down, using your speed, attacking the rim, making plays. Even if you get to the rim and he's not finishing strong or questionable call, the ref call or not, get to that rim and make plays. So now it forces everything else to go. So and then on the defensive side of the ball, consistently work to get our defense set. And then I felt like we had a good week.
Last question, Gabe.
Cuonzo, going into, a week from now, it's one and done situations only. How important is it this week for your staff and just for the guys' confidence to see, hey, a couple of good efforts to show them kind of, hey, we're capable of this going into tournament play?
I think it's very important. And I don't think we necessarily lack effort. I think what we have to do is win the games, go out there and play. Because I've said it before, even if you lose a game, which I expect us to go out and try to win 2 games, you should be able to see, okay, that's what we look like. Even if the result ain't what you want, okay, I see what we're doing now. And I think our guys understand that part. And they're just playing a lot of effort, a lot of intensity, a lot of toughness, doing all those things that we talk about doing. And I think we'll get those things done.
Thank you, guys.